The Miami Hurricanes just missed out on the final blue chip recruit in the class of 2025. On one hand, it stings, and we'll tell you why. But on the other hand, really shouldn't be too concerning.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Donno, University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. On this loaded episode, we'll talk about biggest strengths for your 2025 Miami Hurricanes, biggest team concerns, and we'll talk some recruiting here, good and bad. And it's always a good Tuesday when we celebrate Truth Teller Tuesday. Bruce Warner is with us. So Bruce, Jack Skellington in the house. Is that a subliminal message to anyone?
Yeah, it's a subliminal that it's my granddaughter's. She loves that movie. And she always plays Sally, and she always calls me Jack. So I went out and I got the Jack T-shirt for her. So this is not I'm wearing the Canes hat, but it's Jack Day today. It's April Fool's too, but we're not supposed to talk about that. So I will.
Yeah, well, I've said it to our listeners and viewers. This is an April Fool's joke free zone because I don't want to be that guy. I hate, this is one of my least favorite days of the year. Because of all the stupid made up stories. And I usually never fall for them because I have a freaking calendar and I know what day it is, but people fall for it and they retweet it and they ask me that. So this is an April Fool's joke free zone. I wish that this didn't really happen last night, but Javari Flowers, blue chip defensive back, South Florida kid. He chose the Florida Gators last night, which something, Bruce, you and I have been expecting this for the last couple of days. There's been a lot of Florida momentum for the past few weeks. And so when I brought it up, Bruce, obviously Miami's going to be all right when it comes to their defensive backfield. But the reason why this does sting is you always hate when, really good South Florida players, they go up to Gainesville. You hate that when you lose really good players to Gainesville and Tallahassee. It stings.
Yeah, but how many guys have we stolen from them in the last year or two? Both of those schools, especially Florida, and their coach.
Yeah.
So, you know what?
Right.
Listen, I wanted this kid, but you know what? If they wind up with this Jontavius Wyman, a DB from Georgia, who's also electric on their kickoff and punt returns, it won't bother me in the least. Yeah. Now, he can't play this year because he's still in school, but the point is that this year someone's going to have to step up. Yeah. Somebody's going to have to step up. And I don't know if it's going to be Ray because he may start in the slot. Do you want to use him? But yet they used Restrepo in the return. So you know what? I guess that's what he's good at. And he seemingly catches the ball well. That's half the battle, catching those balls and making the right decision. You don't want to see any more of these catches inside the 10. He's got to stop that. But I'm sure they've told him 100 times, don't do that anymore. So you know what? I'm not worried about Flowers. I'm just not. And of course, as you said before off the air, he recommitted from 26 to 25 class. And he had a deadline to make his decision. So Miami seems to be loaded in the backfield. So he's in Gainesville. That's okay.
Well, that was the thing. When he reclassified,
we're still going to beat them again this year.
Yeah. And I don't think week 4 he's going to, as a true freshman, help them too much in that game. But when he reclassified from 2026 to 2025, it put his recruitment basically into the microwave. Yes. And it completely changed because priorities for schools, and listen, I'm not saying I didn't want this player. This is not a spin zone. This is reality here, that it completely changed the complexion of his recruitment. Other schools that weren't as heavily in for him got heavily into it, like Auburn, Florida, obviously Notre Dame really stepped up. Yeah, Notre Dame came apparently somewhat close to landing Javari Flowers. It also it changed, his personal NIL situation when it came to the bids coming in. And Bruce also, when he was a 2026 guy, Miami's board looked completely different because in 2025, all the defensive backs that Miami has brought in, Bruce, guys that Miami brought in recruiting in this cycle, Chris Ewald, Amari Wallace, Jabari Antoine, Bryce Fitzgerald, those are true freshmen. They bring 5 guys in the transfer portal: Xavier Lucas, Zachariah Poiser, Charles Brantley, Ethan O'Connor, Emmanuel Carnley. So
a few of
I think
those are going to be penciled in to start. Like Xavier Lucas is better than Flowers, that's for sure.
Right now, certainly, yeah.
So I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. You talk about team concerns and the biggest strength, and we'll get into that. But we're still 9 days away from the practice that we're going to, so we can kind of say this on the air now. When we're there, we're going to try. I know you said you weren't. You could stop me if you want, but I think after the practice, we're going to try to do something live, then and there, and hopefully one or two of my friends that I know that one of the former players will be, we can get them on to talk about what they just saw.
And that's alumni weekend, so there's going to be a lot of players.
A lot of the guys are going to be there. Yep, a lot of guys will be there, and I'll get to see Damian.
Yeah,
and Kevin. Talk to those guys.
Yeah, well, another recruiting nugget, Bruce, if you want it, there's a big-time visitor at Miami today. Practice is in progress now. 4th ranked safety in the class of 2026, 4-star, pretty close to being a 5-star prospect, Devon Benjamin. Now, he's a California kid who's visiting on campus today. He's 6 foot tall, 170 pounds. He's still a junior in high school heading into his senior year. But Devon Benjamin, Bruce, I know he's way out there in the West Coast, so obviously you have to, watch out for the USCs and the Oregons of the world. But he goes to the same high school that Hayden Lowe went to, former high school teammates. So there is a strong Miami connection there. So speaking of defensive backs, Miami's got another top one on campus today.
Yep. Yeah, again, I don't know what other offers he's got and what his thoughts are about being so far east, but if Hayden Lowe is in his ear, that it can only help, And so the recruiting thing is like hit and miss. We're doing well. I'm very excited about this upcoming season for my own personal reasons, obviously, which is always what I talk on this show. It's my own viewpoints. Some people disagree or whatever, but I'm excited about everybody that he's put on this roster. But I said to you off the air, and I'll repeat it, I'm very excited about the coaching staff. I think he finally got it right. On the defensive side of the ball, he's got a bunch of younger guys, aggressive guys, the secondary guys, the linebacker coach, and definitely with Jason Taylor and my friend Damian Lewis coaching the interior guys, I'm expecting our defense to be a million times better than last year. I mean, I don't know how it can't be, except playing as a unified, with continuity as a unit. They have to play together. The Notre Dame game is the first game out of the box. And what game has these 11 guys played as a unit? None.
Right.
That's frightening. But you know what? I expect the defense to be more aggressive, get up the field, be more of an attack defense like it used to be. And I expect them to be a lot better. And I think the key to stopping anybody in this day and age is getting to the quarterback, which we had a lot of trouble last year, bringing these guys down, getting in the backfield, causing plays in the backfield, or turnovers, interceptions, and fumbles. We didn't do it that well. We did not take the ball away. I think most of the time we saw Cam Ward have to drive 80, 75, 90 yards to score. Now, he did it a lot, but it's a lot easier to get cheap scores. Take the ball away from the team on the other side of them and then have a short drive touchdown. That's what I'm hoping happens this year. That's the way it used to be. That's the formula that Jimmy used and Dennis used and Butch used. It's good enough for me if it's good enough for them.
And the entire defensive staff is fully aligned with that philosophy.
Yes.
I mean, fully aligned. I mean, the only holdover from last year is Jason Taylor. And believe me, JT wants to rush the passers more aggressively and more directly. So he is aligned with that philosophy. Damian Lewis, that's the way he played when he was at Miami. And Lewis, to add the icing on the cake, is also seems like a really personable coach and a very good recruiter. Lewis, and then both of the new DBs coaches are great recruiters. I mean, Will Harris, I know he couldn't get us Javari Flowers, but he got us Jalen Seatbelt Waters.
Right.
Zach Etheridge is considered a strong recruiter as well. You know, Heatherman's got that philosophy. You talk about forcing takeaways. That's one of the big things that a Corey Heatherman defense emphasizes. And
Yeah.
he proved that at Minnesota.
Well, the recruiting part is kind of off the table for now. I mean, they're still recruiting. I get that. But now it's all about developing these players, getting these players to buy into this system. It should be easier than it was because you got the front four just going up the – no, not just going up the field. Of course, they have guys stop the run. They've got to work on that, obviously. But I think the pressure that the coach wants to put on the other team's offense and their quarterback is going to be totally different. We're going to see the secondary not having to cover 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds, and then they look lost out there because you can't cover somebody for that long, especially when they're cross routes and all these wide open receivers last year. Look at Cal. 30. I still can't get that out of my mind. They made us look so bad the first half of the game. And we still won the game because of Cam Moore, not because of anybody else. So I'm expecting a more balanced
Fernando team. In that Cal game. We put their former quarterback Fernando Mendoza, who's now at Indiana. We put that guy on NFL draft watch lists for the next year. Now, he wasn't on any of those until he faced Miami.
You know who's doing well, and I think he's moving up the ladder, is the Louisville quarterback. Shuck. There's a lot of praise for him,
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I like the new quarterback that they brought in. He's talented, Miller Moss from USC. But we have a lot more to talk about, folks, on this episode. We got the Truth Teller Unfiltered today, and I'm enjoying every minute of this. And we're going to talk about possible team concerns at this point, as we're a little more than 3/5 through spring football. Miami's now right in the middle of their 4th out of 5 weeks. We'll also talk about the biggest team strengths.
Yeah, but
I don't want to hear an
concerns. You say concerns. I'm going to get thrown under the bus. If I make one comment about a concern, he's negative. Do me a favor.
I'm doing it to
I'm
you
not
on
negative.
purpose.
He's asking me the question, and I'm commenting on it. Jeez.
I'm putting Bruce in that tough position when we come back.
I'm always the scapegoat for this. You come through like Teflon, like John Gotti. You're the Teflon Don. I know what Teflon Alex. Okay.
He figured out the formula of the show. You want to keep it locked right here. We'll make the Truth Teller the bad guy when we come back on this brand new episode. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Guys, when I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending and overspending on things like food delivery. My vacation budgets were a little out of control. I try to do that so Miami gets recruits usually when I'm on vacation. So I take one for the team. But still, managing money with your partner is now smoother than ever. You could track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first order. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. We're also proudly brought to you by Game Time. Folks, I've used Game Time so much recently. Florida Panthers tickets. I got concert tickets. I'm so excited about a month and a half from now, taking my family to see AC/DC in Tampa. I got the best deals and a completely hassle-free experience at Game Time. And if you want to watch your favorite team live, you feel that urgency of the crowd, you witness unforgettable moments, there's nothing like experience a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Folks, with seat views in the app before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. And here's a hot tip. The deals get better at Game Time the closer you get to the last minute. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you so much for making this Truth Teller Tuesday your first listen, and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcast. We're free on YouTube. All right, so Bruce, so I don't throw you under the bus here when we talk about team concerns. I will go first, okay?
Okay.
And maybe you will alleviate this concern. I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to be a bad thing, but it's it's a little frustrating that we're more than halfway through spring football, and it's not his fault or anybody's fault, but our starting quarterback has not been fully cleared to throw yet. So he's behind on building the on-field chemistry and the timing with his receivers. And so, it's something that's a little concerning to me because he's going to have to be playing catch up compared to where Cam Ward was this time of year last year.
Well, it's a concern because of the injury as well. Cam didn't have an injury. He just showed up and he bonded with his teammates, and so they went from there. And it's important. I think what else is important is if you look at what happened, you notice that the three quarterbacks that are practicing, I think Mario gets a much better look at them. They're worrying about Cam Ward being there, and these guys get 10 minutes here and 6 minutes there. They're all involved. Now, it looks to me like Emory Williams is clearly the favorite out of those three guys from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, to be the backup.
And so, but I also have to look at Beck and say, I thought he'd be out until maybe May or June before he could start throwing, and that's clearly not the case.
He'll be back sooner. Yeah,
he'll be back much sooner, and so he's going to have the ability to work with the receivers during the off time and get some sort of indication what this guy's got speed, this guy finds holes, this guy, he does this, and they work on it, and they talk and they communicate what they're going to do. That'll help. And I'm sure he's going to get a lot of action come fall practice, probably way more than the other three guys who are just going to be there because they have to make sure that Beck is ready to go for Notre Dame. So I'm not as worried. I'm not worried that, the doctors have been talking about, if this and if this, that. No, if he gets cleared, and that's what I said when they got him. I knew he was injured, but I knew darn well that they investigated that injury and they felt for certain, their doctors, along with the surgeons who did this, they felt for certain he would be back. They're not going to give a timeline, but I kind of had the feeling he'd be back sooner than later. He has nothing on his arm. You look at his, he's got no braces, no bandages, no sleeves, nothing. So I'm sure he's going to be fine. It's just getting his arm strength, working on timing. It'll take time. I seriously doubt if he goes out there, let's say 2 weeks from now, and he starts throwing bombs. I don't see that at all.
Yeah, he'll work his way back.
That's all. Look, last year we saw a whole season. Is Mark Fletcher going to be out for the year? He played day one. So, leave the doctors alone. I know Mario doesn't want us talking about speculating, but I'm only speculating based on what I see. And he's out there. And I think the doctors took this and they gave a very favorable report to the injury, the surgery, and the arm going forward. I'm not worried about it. He's a veteran. He'll figure it out.
I was really happy to hear what Ray Joseph said about Beck on Saturday when Ray spoke to the media that, Beck is so fully engaged out there. Like he sees receivers run certain routes and he'll critique, he'll give them feedback on it. He'll give them tips. So, Beck is doing whatever he can, Bruce, to stay as involved physically and mentally as involved as possible. So,
right. And he's good at the back shoulder throws. There's things he wants these guys to do. It's not like last year where they had to have their head on a swivel. Where's Cam Ward? He's not really a scrambler. And Ray also made comments that were surprising. But you know what? I really have more respect for him now. I don't care about competition. I'm staying here. I wanted to be a Cane. I'm a Cane, and I'm doing what I can. And it looks like his body has changed in the offseason to where it was a little stronger, but not as thick, which is what I said. And somebody made a negative comment. I said his legs look thick. Yeah, it looked like last year he was running in quicksand. I'm sorry. What do you can argue against that? He looked like a blazer? No, he didn't. So anyway, the kid really makes me feel good about him. And if he's the starter in the slot with Malachi backing him up, I'm fine with that. I don't have to have Malachi start right away. I'd rather have Ray do it. He's a local kid. So is Tony for that matter, but still. I look at is Nakar going to step up? We're all watching videos of Josh Moore making these one-handed catches. he's going to be a weapon this season. He really is.
Yep.
And I trust Kevin Beard to make the kid better. They're working with him. But he's making spectacular catches with guys draped all over him. So that's
that's the thing. Like we haven't, Bruce, we haven't had enough of those guys in recent years that can make those contested 50-50 grabs. Like we haven't, that's just a profile we haven't had enough of at Miami. And he seems to be that guy.
He does seem to be that guy. So and Lofton, I think Lofton's going to be a weapon all over the field, down the field. Tight end screens. I mentioned it to you before. When Njoku was here and Herndon was here, they threw those little side passes instead of throwing him to Restrepo. Now they were throwing him to the tight ends and let him take off. He's a bull. He catches the 3-yard pass. Not the first guy's not going to tackle him for the most part, especially when he gets ahead of steam. So yeah, I'm excited about the offense. Curious, a little nervous with the lack of experience, but I'm excited about what this team is going to bring on both sides of the ball.
Now, what about overall, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, you mentioned this, a lot of new parts on both sides of the football, offense and defense. We'll talk about the exceptions because there are certain areas where Miami's in great shape, but Bruce, one of the reasons why Clemson is the favorite to win the ACC this year is they return the most production from last year out of any team in the ACC, right? Where, last couple of years, and it worked out okay for Miami last year. I mean, I know it wasn't quite the season we were hoping for, but 10 wins was better than we've had here in a long time. A lot of new talent again this year. Any concerns, especially with two of your toughest games within the first 4 weeks of getting everybody on the same page right early on in the season?
Well, it's always a concern. To me, it's a concern because, Clemson has more familiarity with their players. And they have Cade Klubnik, he had a much better year. He really improved. Yeah. But I think Carson Beck's better than him. I'm sorry. I just do. The guy was a preseason first-round draft pick, her Heisman Trophy possibility. Didn't have a great year, but it wasn't all his fault. I expect him to be better this year. So we don't play Clemson. I think and Notre Dame and Florida are not conference games. So I don't want to lose any games, but it's a non-conference game. So I think if we could beat those teams, I'm not worried about Clemson. We'll play them at the end of the year if we get that far. So it's not that they're not a concern for me at all. Not at all. Don't care about them. I just care about what Miami does. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I trust our defensive coaches. I like our offense. I think we have potential to be really good all across the board. Every phase, because it says, what's the biggest concern? Well, I guess the lack of experience for the wide receivers. You'll agree with me. And I guess to a certain, the tight ends too. They don't have anybody that's been there before other than Lofton. He didn't play that much. We're all concerned about the secondary because we haven't seen one down with these guys yet. Yeah. And so, I think I'm concerned about every aspect of it.
I'm low key though. I'm low key probably.
But I'm not going to make a big deal out of it because I'm so excited about this.
Yeah, same. Well, and I want to say on the secondary, it's like I hate doing this because I know it's April. Okay, so knee jerk. We're several months away from playing actual games, but I see so much promise for the defensive secondary with the new players and the new coaches. Like they overhauled that room, Bruce, to the point where in the practices I've had the privilege of watching, the feedback that I heard from the top secret scrimmage this past Saturday, the secondary has every ingredient to go from a weakness to a strength in 1 year, like every ingredient. Okay. But we'll talk when we come back about the biggest strength of this football team. And it speaks to the way Mario Cristobal is building it. We got the Truth Teller with us on a Truth Teller Tuesday. You want to keep it locked? We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts for 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, Their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Back here on Locked On Canes, thank you for making us your first listen and your first watch today. Bruce, we talk about it a lot on and off the air about, not only the offensive line that Miami has this year, but the types of players that Mario Cristobal has been recruiting. Like, you notice, like, everybody Mario's recruiting is like 6'5" and a half, six. Even some of the guys who are going to play guard here are in like the 6'5", 6'6" range. And I thought it was a really good point brought up. I'll give a shout out to David Lake and Gabby Urrutia on the Inside the U pod. They mentioned that, big, obviously you always want to have a big physical offensive line. That's one of the key ingredients for a successful football team. But really, this is the type of O-line, Bruce, that's being built to have success in more than just in conference, because there aren't a whole lot of like big physical defensive lines in the ACC. But when you're talking about, and fingers crossed, Miami at some point gets into this college football playoff, right? When you start, facing these programs from the SEC and the Big Ten with these bigger, deeper defensive lines, like Miami is trying to build the type of offensive line that is going to succeed, not just in conference play, but hopefully when you've got the big, the national stuff at stake.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot of good things about Brockmeyer.
Yeah.
The center. I've heard a lot of good things. And Inez Cooper seems to have his head in the right spot. Maui Noah, I'm not worried about at all. And Bell, I'm not worried about him either. He came a long way last year, and he's working hard in the offseason. I think the offensive line might be better than last year.
Yeah, I think so too.
And whether Rodriguez or McCoy plays the left guard spot, it may be neither here nor there. But look, you talk about strengths. The strength is the offensive line. Yeah. Strength, hopefully, is the defensive line. And I'm going to make a statement that I'm not going to say where I got it from, because I won't. But I believe that on passing downs, like 2nd and long and 3rd and long and whatever, I think they're going to probably kick Messidor to the inside and let the kid from, why is my mind drawing a blank?
Hayden
Lowe. Let him come off the edge on the passing downs, because that kid gets into the backfield constantly. He's got power and he's got speed. And I mean, I saw him go in those little drills where he got between Cooper and Mawanoa and just blew up the field. So this kid's got a motor on him and a nastiness to him. Don't be surprised if they start using this kid right off the bat. Not to start, but clearly to be involved in the pass rush, because he's great at that.
You get that speed package, that NASCAR package on the field, and those obvious passing down. And listen, I know Messidor is excited to be like a full-time defensive end this year, but I think it's perfectly okay. I don't think he would mind on some of these passing downs, kick him inside and just let everybody pin their ears back and go after it.
I hope that happens. Yeah, we're going to probably get screened to death on when we do stuff like that. But you know what? Good luck. If our linebackers are free to make tackles, like, when we had the Bermuda Triangle, our front four was so good. That's why those guys, Barrow and Darren and Jesse, had 1 million tackles, because they were free to run around and make plays. I expect that to happen a lot this year. So, look, I think I've covered a lot. I love the staff. I think the staff is younger. They relate to the players better. I know Damian does. And so I'm looking forward to this year. I just wish it was already the end of August and we're getting ready to play Notre Dame.
Well, can you just
We're
imagine?
not. We're still in April. It's April 1st, and we're still months away.
Yeah,
I
but
want to
that
bring up
Bruce,
one other thing. Next
oh
week,
yeah, go ahead.
Next week, we're going to the practice 2 days before the scrimmage, like we do every year. There's going to be a lot of former players out there. We're going to try to get some names and do some post practice stuff live if we can. But we'll be able to see what goes on. We'll be able, and I'm hoping, like when I used to go there all the time to watch, the defense dominates, especially if Carson Beck isn't there, which he won't be. Let's see if the D can just dominate that scrimmage, because that's what they used to do. And that's a good sign. Oh, the offense stinks. They can't. No, you want your defense to look great.
Right.
You want them to just dominate like they used to do. And that'll give me a better indication of what's going on with the new defensive coordinator scheme, which is what I'm very much looking forward to. I know you are.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I really can't wait. I like Heatherman a lot. And to what you're saying about defenses winning in practice, I mean, you're always telling me in 1991 the offense couldn't score against the defense in practice, and
that was '89 when Dennis first got here. We would go out there and we would watch them practice. And I talked to Lamar, I talked to Steven, I talked to everybody. Those guys are all still my friends. They couldn't score. They did not score a touchdown in any of the scrimmages. None. None. And we had Steven on the show. He said he gained a yard or two on a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. When he got into the game, he knew 3rd and 1 was like nothing to him. Look what he did against Florida State. Ran through like a hot knife through butter. So we're going to have that. We'll look at that. That'll be exciting to see. And we'll get a couple of guys out there that we'll be able to have on the show. There's a guy out there that I just texted with 2 days ago that I mentioned, not a former Hurricane, but somebody who played in Miami, who was probably the greatest of all time. And I'm waiting for him to get back to me to say, yes, he'll be on the show.
Oh, man.
Now, again, not a Hurricane player, but one of the greatest to ever play in Miami, if not the greatest.
Yeah, which is a good hint. And it's not Dwayne Wade. We're not talking basketball, okay?
No, it was football.
Bruce Warner, he's doing God's work out there with this stuff. Thank you so much to the Truth Teller. Thank you so much to everybody for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. I want to give another reminder, because I think we might be able to pull this off today. If you haven't subscribed yet, for whatever reason, you watch our shows every day, you listen every day, you haven't subscribed to Locked On Canes on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, because we're only like a dozen away from hitting 20,000 subscribers, which would be an awesome milestone. So, and by the way, I'll remind you, the subscribe button is free. Okay, so hit that subscribe button. Let's get Locked On Canes to 20K before
where is
Tuesday
the
is over.
Subscribe button? I don't even see it on my screen.
Well, you don't see it here. You got to go. I'm sure you're subscribed on the YouTube channel. Like when you go to youtube.com. Like I'm sure.
I don't know what I'm subscribed to, because I'm not.
Well, if you're not subscribed, we need to get one closer with the Truth Teller. I assume you watch the show when you're not on. You got to be subscribed.
I do, but I don't know if I subscribe. I've never subscribed on any of this stuff because I'm not sure what to do.
Maybe he's not. Well, when you get back on there, hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch. We'll talk to you next time on another episode. We're right here on the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.